class, if you're watching this, that means you are taking IB Math 11th grade applications and interpretations. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to go over all the problems that you should have completed in your summer packet leading up to this class, okay? So if you got all the answers right, that's wonderful. If you didn't get any, watch the video. Maybe when I show you just a couple steps you might have forgotten, you may figure out what you need to do. All right, as we go through all this stuff, all right, this is the gist of how I will be doing a lot of your lessons on videos, okay? So you'll get an idea of the teaching style I use, and then when we get back into class, this is how I'll teach my classes anyway, and the only difference is, got my smart board instead of my TV. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you learned something, and if you got them all right already, that's even better. So let's look. All right, so I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to go step by step through all the problems, all right? And like I said before, follow your answers, see if you got them right, self-correct them, and the key is that you remember how to do all this stuff, not that you got it right off the bat. All right, the example said, Abdul will invest $5,000 at an interest rate of 4% compounded quarterly. How much is the investment worth at the end of 3 years? So first one, how much money did he want to invest? He wanted to invest $5,000. That's a simple question. What is the rate of interest? So we look at this. Well, interest rate is 4%. How often is the interest calculated in a year? It doesn't specifically say that, but it says compounded quarterly. Now, what does quarterly mean? Just think of a quarter. How many quarters are there in a dollar? 4. So there's 4 times in a year. Why? What are you asked to find in this question? What's it asked for? Well, look for the question mark. It's saying how much is the investment worth at the end of, here's the key, 3 years. So the formula you'll use to answer this question, there we go. A equals P 1 plus R over N and T. Principal, rate, that's your number of terms, and T is the times in years. Number of terms is just like number of times a year, so quarterly, you'll see. All right, so here's our formula. A is what we're looking for, right? We're trying to find how much the investment's worth, so this is the end. Okay, principal, we start with 5,000. 1 plus 4%, 4 divided by 100 is 0.04, or 4 hundredths. All right, 4 compounded quarterly, 4 times in a year, 4 times 3 years. So once you do this, it just becomes simply calculator work. So 5,000 times 1 plus 1/10 to the 12th power, 4 times 3 is 12, 1 and a 10th to the 12th power, 5,000 times 1.01, caret 12 is $5,634.13. Right? And that was given to you in the sheet and in the packet, so you could have just followed it right there. Or, better yet, listen to me. All right, let's go to the next one. So now we got about, what, 36 problems, I believe it is, to go through? Should take about maybe an hour. All right, so how many solutions are there to this equation? So, first thing you want to know is there's no solutions, exactly 1, at least 2 indefinitely. Many solutions meaning infinite. Right? Oh, infinite, not indefinite. Duh. How can you tell whether an equation has 1 solution, infinite number, or no solution? So we'll go through all that. So first thing, what we have to do with this equation. PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So in this case, we have to distribute first. 3x. Oh, I already messed up my answer. See, this is a brand new packet for me, so I'm going to mess up some answers. This should be 7x minus 3x plus 3 equals 4x plus 6. Now, I've never done this before, so there will be some mistakes in it. I'll explain these mistakes verbally as I catch them. 7 minus 3 is 4x plus, this should say 3 equals 4x plus 6. When you subtract 4x from both sides, you should have 3, this is a 3, just looks like a 1, equals 6. Since 3 and 6 are not equal, it's never true. All right, the answer is still correct. It's just I forgot to distribute -3 in there to make this a positive 3. But you want to know what? 3 doesn't equal 6, 1 doesn't equal 6, neither equals 6, so it's never true. All right, I'm not going to go back and fix it, but to explain. Since this is never true, all right, that means there's no value for x that will ever make this equation true. So our answer is no solution. It's 1 solution if x only equals 1 number. It's an infinite number of solutions if the x cancels out, and this would say like 6 equals 6, 1 equals 1, or as this is supposed to be a 3 equals 3. All right, and there's no solution if x cancels out and the two side numbers are not equal. All right, so hopefully you got that. And I'm glad I got the wrong question and answer it right off the bat, because I'm going to go fix that for when we go over in class. All right, so man, I just triple checked this too and I still got it wrong. Oh well. All right, number 2, which systems have no solution? No solution means, as we just said before, when the x's and y's cancel out, they do not equal. So let's look at the stuff right here. In this case right here, you can use something called linear combinations, where you would add the two systems together, all right? And you can solve for your x, you can solve for your y. Now, if you added these together, 2x minus 2x, so we're going to use linear combinations, okay? Now, the way a linear combination works, you're going to arrange the equations with like terms in the columns. That's like the x's, and the y's, and the y's. All right? Analyze the coefficients for x and y. Add the equation. You add these two equations, and you're going to solve for the remaining variables. So what your goal is to do is either to cancel out the y's or cancel out the x's by having one being a positive, one being a negative, and the coefficients in front being the same. Okay, they're just opposite. Substitute that value in, so then you find out whatever x or y is, plug it into the original equation, and you solve for the variable you don't know about, and you check the solution. Now, if both the x and the y variable cancel out and the equation is not equal on both sides, that's how you find out there's no solution. What does it mean by no solution? That means there's no combinations of x and y's that I can get, right, that makes the equation true. So there's no way to make that equation true. So now, let's go over the questions. First one, if I do these and I add these together, 0, 0, so 0 equals 0. Is that true? Yes. 0 equals 0 is true. So that means there's an infinite number of solutions. So any number I pick for x and y, okay, make these two equations true. Let's look at B. All right. What do we got for B? Anyone? Well, multiply top one by 3, multiply bottom one by 2. Distribute 6x minus 12y equals 18. Negative 6x minus 12y equals negative 18, right? Now when I add these together, I get 0, 0, right? 0, negative 24y equals 6. Y equals negative 6 over negative 24, or 1/4. So that's one solution. So that's okay. Because then I can plug it in here and then find the other solutions. So we're good. Right here, I want to eliminate, right here, I'm going to try to eliminate the x's. So 3 times this is 6x plus 12y equals 24. Negative 6x, make these cancel out, minus 12y equals negative 18. Now look what happens here. Cancels out, gives 0, and this becomes negative 6. This isn't true. That will never be true. Since that's never true, you know what that means? No solution. All right, let's look at D. We're going to try to cancel out one of these. So we're going to multiply this one by 2, and you get negative 12. Notice, look at this is an x, this is a y. This is a y, this is an x. They almost tricked you. So you pretty much switch them, right? And when I do that, I get negative 12y, 6x, 18. Negative 9y, 0, and 27. Y would equal negative 3. I could plug negative 3 in here, and then I can solve for x. So the one that has no solutions, which one? Oh, I didn't circle it. C. C is the one with no solution. All right? Because the two numbers are not equal. Good. All right, 3. Now this is also the first. I just made these notes over the last week and a half or so. So this is the first time I'm using them. Usually I go through them a couple times in the classroom. I'm going to do your class this year. Everything will be first time through. So hopefully some mistakes will be made, but we'll clean it up as we go. Perform the. You guys tell me if I'm wrong too. Perform the indicated operation. Decide if the result is a rational number. Select all that apply. So, do you guys remember how to add, subtract, and multiply fractions? Hopefully you do. So, explain the difference between rational and irrational numbers. Rational numbers, numbers that can be expressed as a fraction, or part of a whole number. Irrational numbers, numbers that cannot be expressed as a fraction or a ratio of the two integers. All right. Now, what does that mean? What that means is this right here, if you have a radical involved, that's irrational. A number like pi, irrational. A number like mixed fraction or a regular fraction like this, rational. So when you want to subtract something, you want to get the denominators equal to each other. So what I'm going to do first is get rid of this whole number. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 3 is 31 over 4 minus radical 11 over 5. These have to be equal, so I have to find the greatest common factor, or least common multiple between the two, LCM. All right, 20. So I have to multiply this by 5 over 5 because that's 1. 5 times 31 is 155. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 4 radical 11 is 4 radical 11, 20. 155 minus 4 radical 11, well, that's going to be some kind of irrational number. All right, so we can leave it like that, and it's just divided by 20. Now, because this has a radical in it, that means that the result is a irrational number. Okay, right here. Once again, 28 plus 3 is 31 divided by radical 11 over 5. Now, when you divide a fraction, what you do is you multiply by its reciprocal. 31 over 4 times, flip, 5 over radical 11. When you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators together, 155, denominators together for radical 11. Now, typically you don't want radicals on bottom, so you would really make this 155 radical 11 over 44, because you would multiply the top just by radical 11 over radical 11. But the key is, we see that there's a square root 11 in the problem. Right away, that tells us it's irrational, not one of our answers. Right? Right there, once again, 31 over 4 plus, well, what's the square root of 16? We know that. When you take the square root of a perfect square, you get the answer. Square root of 16, what times what is 16? The answer is, when I point, you'll get your answer. 4. So now I'm actually adding two regular fractions. Once again, you want the denominators to equal, so you want them both to be 20. So 5 over 5, this becomes 155 over 20. 4 over 4, 4 times 4 is 16 over 20. Now, if you have the same denominator, you just add the numerators together, and the denominator stays what the denominator is. 155 plus 16 is 171 over 20. You could say, let's see, you could say that's like 8 and 11 over 20 if you want. Or 0.55, something like that. Anyway, rational number. Why is it rational? There's no radicals in it. There's no coefficients that are strange division things in it. All right, here we go. That's not very mathematical, the division thing. This one right here. Once again, 7 and 3/4 becomes 31 over 4. Square root of 16, once again, is 4 over 5. When you multiply straight across the top. 31 times 4 is 124. 5 times 4 is 20. You can reduce that right there if you want to. Divide the top and the bottom by 4. This becomes 31 over 5. Or you can just cancel these guys out. 31 over 5. But anyway, it's a rational number because, once again, no radicals in it. It can be expressed as a fraction or a part of a whole number. Okay? Cannot be, can be. Alright, let's go number 4. Simplify. Explain your steps in simplifying this equation. Explain your steps just pretty much means show all your work. You ready to go? First thing you want to do is you want to reduce that radical. So, step 1, we have our two questions. We want to find any perfect squares in the radical. Perfect squares are numbers that you can multiply by themselves and that you can actually reduce. So, I know there's a 16. So, for instance, some perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144. Get it? Hopefully, yes. All right, 169, and so on. All right, 196, maybe 225. You just keep on going up. Number times itself. So 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 6 is 96. 9 times 6 is 54. You want the highest perfect square. Now what I could do here is I could split these. 5 radical 6 times 16 is, you could do radical 16 times radical 6. This is a rule you can do with square roots. Minus 7 times radical 9 times 6. Square root of 16, we could solve that. That is 4. Square root of 6. We don't know what it is. It's just square root of 6. Minus 7 times square root of 9 is 3. Radical 6 just becomes radical 6. So you're going to separate the numbers under the radicals. And then here you get 5 times 4, radical 6, minus 7 times 3, radical 6. All right, so what I did here is I just simplified the perfect squares. All right? Changing a lot here. All right, so now what you do is you're going to multiply the numbers. 5 times 4 is 20. Negative 7 times 3 is minus 21. What you're doing here is you're multiplying the coefficients. And now your last step, 20 radical 6 minus 21 radical 6. Well, they share the same radical next to it, so 20 minus 21 is just a negative 1. So your answer is negative radical 6. You're combining the terms with the same radicals. That's it. Your solution is simplified. Right? That was an easy one. Let us do still like radicals. Number 5, the graph below represents a function. What is the name of the parent function? Describe the transformations for the graph as shown below. Then write the function g of x for the graph below. Anyone here have a clue what the parent function is? If you said, what's the v? Absolute value. So, the original parent function pretty much looks like this. It's a v. One line goes up with a slope of 1. One line goes to the back with a slope of negative 1. So, f of x equals, this actual function is going to be negative x plus 1 plus 3. Now, how did I get that? Because this is in round. This is in absolute value. Now, first off, when we flex something over an x-axis, that's how we flip from the upside down v. That's how we get it from a regular v. You put a negative in front of your function. Now, translation. If you have a number added inside your function, say f of, I'm going to say down here. So, anyway, straight lines in a v shape, that tells us its absolute value. Parent function g of x equals absolute value of x. So that's what we start with. Now, the negative out front, that's telling us reflection over the x-axis. So that tells us that negative out front, we go from a regular v to an upside down v. Next one, x minus 1. Okay, translation 1 unit to the left. Oops, sorry, this should say f of x plus 1. All right, f of x plus 1. That means 1 unit to the left. Positive, in here you move to the left. Negative, you move to the right. If this was x minus 1, it would be 1 unit to the right. Because it's plus 1, you move to the left. Okay? You're adding a 3 at the end. That means that's your vertical translation. So you're moving 3 units up. Because you start at 0. So the plus 1 moves it 1 left. The plus 3 in the end moves it up 3. And the negative flips your v upside down. And there you go. This is a plus v. Right? Woo! Alright. Number 6, find the product. Ready? What do we do here? How do you find the product of 2 functions, both polynomials? You almost FOIL, right? You do distribution. Take the 7x squared, you're going to distribute it to the 8x squared, negative 7x, and positive 5. So 7x squared times 8x squared, 7x squared times negative 7x, and 7x squared times 5. Then after you do that, you're going to distribute the negative 3 to all 3 pieces. So plus negative 3 times 8x squared, negative 3 times negative 7x squared, negative 3 times 5. All right, you don't have to write this out. You can just set this up in your head. Now you're going to multiply these. 7 times 8 is 56. 2 plus 2, when you multiply exponent variables that have the same base and they're 2 exponents, you add the exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 49, 1 plus 2 is 3, 35, x squared, plus negative 24, x squared, plus negative is positive 21x, plus 1 negative, 3 and 5 is 15. After that, you combine any like terms. Okay, there's only one value raised to the 4th, only one value raised to the 3. Up. These are both squared, so 35 minus 24 is 11. Only one, only one. Bam. How do you multiply polynomials? 1, you multiply each term from the function by the second term of the function, and then you combine the terms. All right? Step 1. Step 2. Answer. Oh, you couldn't see me. Just saw my belly. All right. You all good? Awesome. All right. Which equation represents a line that is parallel to the line with the equation y equals 2x plus 1? Select all that applies. Now, you have a line that's parallel to another line. How do you know two lines are parallel? Do you remember? Geometry. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay? Now, how do I find the slope in this equation? This is point slope. This is slope y-intercept. Slope-intercept point. Y equals m, which is slope, x plus b. So whatever coefficient is next to the x is your slope as long as y is by itself. So the slope here is 2. What's the slope of a? 2. Why? There's 2 here. This doesn't matter. These are y-intercepts. So slopes are the same. That means the lines are parallel. The lines would be perpendicular if you had negative reciprocals, but don't have them, we're parallel. Right here, slope is negative 2. Well, that's close to 2, right? Doesn't matter, not parallel. Right here, now, in this case, you want to isolate y by itself. It has to be y equals. So to get 2x to the other side, you have to subtract 2x from both sides. Y equals negative 2x plus 7. What's my slope? Negative 2. Negative 2 is not the same as 2. Not parallel. Add 2x to both sides. Y equals 2x plus 2. 2 is my slope. 2 is my slope. 2 is equal to 2. Parallel. All right? And that's it. All right, number 8. What are the x and y intercepts of the graph in the equation 8x minus 7y equals negative 56? So how do you find intercepts? Do you guys remember? Let's see. What do you mean by x-intercept and y-intercept? Well, what I mean is the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So when you have a graph, you have your x-axis, which is horizontal, and you have your y-axis, which is vertical, right? Now, when your graph, the line that you put, or your curve, whatever it is, crosses this blue line, where it hits it, y is equal to 0, and the x value is your x-intercept. When it crosses this vertical line, where the y equals 0, or when x equals 0, that's your y-intercept, where it intercepts the y. So the y crosses the y-axis. I should have made it a different color so they match my other color, but what are you going to do? How to find the intercepts? Well, you set y equal to 0 and you solve for x to find the x-intercept, and to find the y-intercept you set x equal to 0 and you solve for y. What does that mean? Find the x-intercept way, set y equal to 0. To find the y-intercept way, set x equal to 0. Here's my equation, right? So when y equals 0, it's 8x minus 7 times 0 equals negative 56. 8x equals negative 56. Negative 56 divided by 8 is x equals negative 7. So when we have our x and y intercept, over here at negative 7 is where the graph is going to cross the intercept. So at negative 7 and y is 0. When do you find the y-intercept? Let me pop this other side. Ugh. So I set x equal to 0. 8 times 0 minus 7x. 8 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 7x is negative 7x equals negative 56. Negative 56 divided by a negative 7 is a positive 8. So when y equals 8, so I have my x and my y-axis. So when the graph crosses 8 up here, so my graph kind of looks like this, that is when it's the y-intercept. So when x is 0, 0 over 8 up. All right? See? Some of these problems are very easy. Some are more difficult than others. And some, depending on the student, you may be better at others than your friends. Or your friends may be better than you. So you got to figure out who's in our classes. Try to be able to connect to them and help each other. All right? In class, you would be all working in big groups to solve every problem right now. So it's very important that you try to develop some kind of class camaraderie where you guys help each other all the time and all that stuff. Number 9, solve. Negative x squared minus 3x equals negative 4. Using any method lifts the method you learned in solving a quadratic equation. Why would you choose a particular method over the rest? All right, so what we're going to do first is, what are we going to do? I'm going to factor and solve for x. I don't know how you did it, but don't go crazy yet. Wait till I explain both methods. I showed two methods. You may have used the second method. So first thing you do is I want to factor out something. What can I take out of this problem? I can divide both sides by a -1. 0 divided by -1 is 0. So that's why this stays 0. When I divide all these things by -1, it changes the signs. This becomes positive x squared, positive 3x, -4. So by just multiplying or dividing by -1, it just changes the signs of everything in the equation. The equation is the exact same. Why did I do that? Well, now I can actually factor because I know how to factor things that start with x squared. When a, it's just like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. When my a is 1, it's a very simple way of factoring. Factors of -4 that add up to give me a 3. Well, the factors of -4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Well, this negative means I'm going to subtract the two of them by each other. And this positive means the bigger number is the one that subtracts the smaller number. So 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 times -1 is 4. All right, if you don't know how to factor, I suggest going back, maybe use Khan Academy, practice some factor. All right, x squared minus x plus 4x minus 4. All right, now when you solve for x, what you're going to do is you're going to set both these guys, both these sets of the function, all right, equals x. X plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. They both equal 0. Because when one of these two things is 0, 0 times this, no matter what this is 0. And this times 0, no matter what this is also 0. Subtract 4 from both sides, x equals -4. Add 1 to both sides, and x equals 1. So my answers are -4 and 1. All right? Good? I can also use the quadratic equation. How do I use the quadratic equation? (b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And as I said before, ax squared plus bx plus c is the quadratic equation. So our a in this case is -1. Our b is, where are we at? Our b is -3, and our c is 4. A, b, c. Now, (b, -3, plus or minus the radical of -3 squared. You have to make sure the -3 here is in parentheses if you're using a calculator, or else you'll mess up your answer. You'll just be doing -1 times 3 squared. So make sure this is like this. -4 times -1 times 4 over 2 times -1. Now, I also suggest when doing the quadratic equation is to solve these in parts. Don't just plug it into your calculator in one fell swoop. (3 is a positive 3. (3 squared is 9. Negative and a negative is a positive. 4 times 4 is 16 over -2. See, this extra step ensured that this step is okay. A lot of times students get errors there because they leave the negative out front. 9 plus 16 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. So this is -3 plus or minus 5 over -2. In case you forgot how to do this, -3 plus 5 divided by -2 is 2 over -2 or -1. (3 minus 5 over -2. (8 divided by -2, which is 4. All right. Uh-oh, something went wrong here. Why are my answers not correct? These should match up, but they're different. Wonder why. It's because I took that -1 out. It still should be the same though. X minus 3 plus 4. Great. 2 times -1. Ah! You see where my mistake was? I caught it. All right. (3 equals +3. (3). This should be +3, +3, +3, +3. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 divided by -2 is -4. 3 minus 5 is -2 over -2, which is 1. All right. So this should say 1 and -4. Another mistake. See that? Don't worry. When I teach this to you guys in class, when we get back, it'll all be good. I'm also going to put all the correct answers up on the website. Whew. Not spending an extra hour and a half going over this. Make another video. It's too hot. All right, so find the GCF of 5ab squared with 15ab cubed. So GCF, what does it mean? Greatest common factor. So the largest positive integer, so the largest possible variables, any type of variable, and the largest possible coefficient that you can divide out of each question. Now this isn't really heavy, you do it, but this is the best way to explain it. All right, so you can divide out the largest number. What number goes into 5 and 15? 5. And then you can divide out the largest degree of identical variables that go into both numbers. So if I divide 5 out, that's my first one, I'm left with AB, okay? So 5 is the first thing I take out. How many a's can I take out? I can take out 1a, right? So then I'm left with b squared over 3b cubed. How many b's can I take out? 2 b's. So I can take out a b squared. So what I can take out of this problem is a 5. Oh, leave me 1b, and then nothing else can come out. So I'm taking out a 5a b squared. And that's the GCF of the problem. All right? I could divide 15ab cubed divided by 5ab squared and get an answer. Got it? This would be 3b too, by the way. All right, let's go to the next one. What are the solutions of x squared minus 64 equals 0? We're about a third of the way done. Which method will you choose in solving this equation and why? So x squared minus 64 equals 0. There's two ways to do this. First way, I can add 64 to both sides and get x squared equals 64, right? And then what I would do next is square root of 64 is not 8, it's actually plus or minus 8. 8 times 8 is 64, and negative 8 times negative 8 is also 64. What's another way to do this? You can also factor. This is a perfect square, so a squared minus b squared is a minus b, or a plus b times a minus b. It's just an equation that we use for perfect squares. Went through it in geometry a bunch of times. I always go through it in calculus. You did in algebra 2. Square root of 64, x plus 8, x minus 8. The reason for that is 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. 8x minus 8x is 0, so we don't have the middle piece. X plus 8 equals 0. X minus 8 equals 0. X equals negative 8. X equals 5. All right? Discuss the number of solutions. Well, there are two solutions. There's a positive and negative of the same number, 8. Explain your steps in following this equation. There you go. You can see the two steps above. All right? Not too terrible, right? All right. Number 12, simplify. Exponential rules we're going to need. The first one is when you take two exponents with the same base, you add their powers when you're multiplying. Second one, when you divide two exponents with the same base, two variables raised to different exponents with the same base, you subtract the exponents. These are multiplying. 5, so we're going to do at the top. Now, 3/4, 5 minus 3/4, we want a common denominator. To get 4 on the bottom, 5 times 4 over 4 is 5 minus 3/4, or 20 over 4 minus 3/4. I just switched the order just because I like to put my negative second. All right, if you want to throw the 20 over 4 right in here, right off the bat you can. 20 minus 3 is 17 over 4. And the bottom, or the denominator, stays the same. So all we did was really simplify the numerator. This is the same, I know, as 4 1/4, but you really don't want to use mixed numbers. You can. It's not going to change your answer at all. If you did, you're not wrong. All right, because in this step right here, what do? We subtract. 17 over 4 minus 1 over 4. 17 minus 1 is 16 over 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So your answer is x to the 4th. If you had this answer right here as went from here and said x to the 4 1/4, 4 1/4 minus 1/4 is x to the 4th, perfectly okay. I personally just don't like the mixed numbers when you deal with fractions, especially fractions over fractions. I don't think it's very good. There you go. Can you do this all in one step? Of course you can. I just didn't want to confuse you guys. Little steps. How do you know your factors are correct? Okay, first thing, solve this question by factoring. So you could treat the y's as x's. Okay, you can kind of cheat a little bit there. So 3y times 1y. Those are the factors of 3y squared, right? Minus 17. So what this means is you only have two factors, 3 times 1 or 1 times 3, right? So we're just going to go with 3y. Because this is a minus and this is a plus, it means both these middle pieces are going to be minus. So 3y minus something, and then you got 1y minus something. We don't know minus 1 yet. What we have to do is we have the factors of 10. Factors of 10 are 1 and 10, 2 and 5, 5 and 2, and 10 and 1. Now you may say these are the same, but we're going to multiply by 3 and 1. So watch how this works. We have to find out the combinations of multiplying these together when combining equals 17. 3 times 1 plus 1 times 10. 3 plus 10 is 13. 13 does not equal 17. Those are not our combinations. 3 times 2, 1 times 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Does not equal 17. That is not our combination. 3 times 5, 1 times 2. 15 plus 2, 17. That is our combination. To check your answer, 3 times 10, 30 plus 1 is 31. Not our combination, 17, because that which matches our middle number. So what this means is, down here, your 3 is going to have to be multiplied by a 5. So since the 3 is here, the 5 goes here. This means 1 is multiplied by 2. Since your 1y is here, your 2 goes here. So the 5 goes here, the 2 goes here, and then you got your answer. Now, that equals 0. So now what we're going to do is, we're still solving for y, right? So you want to solve by factoring. So we have to find out when y equals what. Their answer is 0. So you can take both these problems and set them equal to 0. 3y minus 2 equals 0. And y minus 5 equals 0. To solve for y here, you add 2 to both sides. Divide both sides by 3 and you get y equals 2/3. Add 5 to both sides and you get y equals 5. Alright, so when y equals 2/3 of 5, this equation is true. How do you know your factors are correct? What do you think you have to do here? You distribute. 3y minus 2, y minus 5. Distribute to check. 3y minus times y is 3y squared. Minus 15y. Minus 2y plus 10. Combine like terms. 3y squared minus 17y plus 10. 3y squared minus 17y plus 10. There you go. Alright? That wasn't too bad. That was an easy one. Awesome. How much time we have? Oh, is this taking a little while? All right, number 14. Solve the equation. Equals V plus LR for R. So we're solving for R here, so we're just going to use some equation rules. E equals V plus LR. First thing you're going to do is you're just going to subtract V from both sides. You get E minus V. Cancels out, equals LR. To solve for R, you're going to divide both sides by L. So you get E minus V over L equals R. Solving for R, there's your answer. R equals E minus V divided by L. Alright, that was a pretty easy one. I don't even know why you got that one. 15, solve the equation for x. Did you use any rules? If so, what are they? Explain your process for solving for x. So, first thing, they have the same base. When you are raising to powers and you multiply, what do you do with the two bases, two variables? You're going to add them. So here's the rules I'm going to put left here. X to the a times x to the b equals x to the a plus b. You're adding these together. So when you do this, x to the 6 plus, this has to be multiplied by 3 over 3 because you want the denominators and the fractions have to be equal. So 3 over 3, 3x, 3 times 2 is 6. X plus 3x is 4x. So 5 to the 4x over 6. Now, I could reduce 4x over 6 because 2 goes into the 4x and the 2. 4x divided by 2 is 2x. 6 divided by 2 is 8. So you're going to reduce by divided by GSCF. So divide this by 2 over 2. You get 2x over 3. Now here's the key. How do you solve for x here? You don't have to multiply it by e. Look at it. 5, and you're raising both of these to the same power, right? So since these are both 5, it means these two things, if this is equal, these two pieces, the two degrees that you're raising your powers to, that you're raising your bases to, have to be equal as well. So we could pretty much just drop the 5 and say 2x over 3 equals 16. And now you're going to solve using rules. What do you do to both sides? Multiply by 3, right? Multiply both sides by the denominator. 3 divided by 3 cancels out, leaving a 2x. 16 times 3 is 54. Divide both sides by the number that's next to x. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Cancels out. X equals 54 divided by 2. X equals 27. All right? So it's really just a simple algebraic equation. All right, 16. Solve the equation for x. So let's go. What rules do you use? First rule. When you raise a power to a power, you multiply the two powers together. So 6 to the x to the 1/3 is 6 to the 1/3 times x, divided by 6 to the 2/3. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to divide. When you divide two things, you subtract. So 6 to the 1/3 x minus 2/3. Now 36 is, here's the K. This makes it easy. 36 is 6 squared, right? So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 squared. And watch why. So this is 6 to the 1/3 x minus 2/3. And this is 6 squared. Now why do you think I did that? And you should have done this too. This was a pretty easy way to see this. Because these are the same bases, so whatever powers you raise them both to have to be equal. So this is 1/3 x minus 2/3 has to equal 2. Because these are both 6's, so we can just kind of get rid of them. Add 2/3 to both sides. 1/3 x equals 2 2/3. Multiply both sides by 3. So this technically is 2 2/3 is 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8/3. So 1/3 x equals 8/3. When you multiply both sides by 3, you get x equals 8. Okay, also 2 2/3, if you just want to multiply that by 3, you get 8 as well. And there you go. If you don't believe me, why don't you plug in your answer? 6 to the 8/3, so that would be 6 to the 6/3, 6 squared. 6 squared is 36. There you go, you can plug in your answer to check. In a theater, this problem actually gave me the most trouble when I was doing the worksheet. It took me the longest to do this one, just because I forgot how to do series in my head. So I had to write out a bunch of stuff, but then I remembered. So if this gave you a lot of trouble, it's okay, it gave me trouble. In a theater, there are 12 chairs in the first row, and each row has 2 more chairs in the previous row. And there are 10 rows. How many chairs are there in the theater? So what do you ask to find? How many total chairs there are in a theater with 10 rows? Not the number of chairs in the 10th row, but the total number of chairs in the whole theater. Explain your method. So here's how I started. I set up an equation. The first row is 12 chairs. All right. I went, okay, so how many does the second row have? It has 12 plus 2, right? And I still have my original 12. So I go, what kind of equation can I come up with for this? So I said, well, this is 12 times 2, and then I have a 2 times 1 there, right? So every row is going to have 12 chairs. Okay, so that's my thinking. Third row, okay? First row, second row, third row is 12 plus 4. So, okay, so now I'm looking for the total. All right, so I got 1, 2, 3 12s, all right? And then I have 4 plus 2, which is 6, which is the same as 3 times 2. I'm looking for this 3 number, okay? Because that 3 number is going to be my n, my number of rows. All right, so now I have a 1, I have a 2. I'm looking for combos here. Fourth row, 12 plus 6. So 6 plus 4 plus 2 is, in my head, 12. So I did 12 times 4, because there's 12 rows, each row has 12 seats, and then 12, I try to see how 4 fit in, because it's my n, that's 3. Look at this, 1, 2, 3. And then said, oh, fifth row, 12 times 5 plus 12, 12 plus 2, 12 plus 4, 12 plus 6, and then fifth row is 12 plus 8. 6 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 is 20. Okay, 20 divided by my n, which is 5. Oh, look at this. 1, 2, 3. And I notice my pattern. Okay, so my pattern is going to be 12 times n, because each row is 12 rows, and then the way I keep on increasing by 2 each time is I take whatever n is, and I multiply it by n minus 1, 3 minus 1, 4 minus 1, 5 minus 1, n minus 1. So I just create an equation. So now I can find out if there's 1,000 rows plug 1,000 in there, figure it out. I need 10. 12 times 10 plus 10 times 10 minus 1. 12 times 10 times 10 times 9. 120 plus 90. 210. Oh. Whoa. Where do you get 180 from? 120 plus 90. What number is this? 17? Should say 210 shares. All right? 120, 90, 2, 1, 0. Get that off there. See, I told you I had trouble. The first couple times I kept on getting 180. I didn't understand why, and then I had to keep on looking and tweaking my equation. So everything's not easy here, and I don't remember everything. I had to relearn a lot of this stuff too, but it was good. That's why I don't get the answer sheets. I just have to figure it out. So if any of these are wrong, I'm telling you. You gotta tell me so I can fix it. All right, so what's the equation of a line passing through the points? Now you have a line, it passes through 2 points, 2, -3, and -4, 6. What information do you need to find this equation? Well, you need to know the slope equation, and you're going to need to know what the slope is, you're going to need to know what y-intercept is. This stuff is straight from geometry. This is a very easy geometric and also algebraic question. How do you find the slope of a line using the points? So let's see. Slope is rise over run. That is delta y over delta x. Delta means change. So that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the first step here we're going to do is find the slope. Take the two lines, find the slope. So y2 minus y1, 6 minus -3, x2 minus x1, -4 minus 2. 6 minus a -3 is 9. -4 minus 2 is -6. All right, now our slope is, -3/2. I messed this whole one up too. Oh, man. Check out the regular paper. Everything will be fixed. All right, so 6 minus -3 is 9. -4 minus 2 is -6. 9 over -6 or -3/2. This is going to mess up my whole answer, but I'm just going to shoot from the hip. So you're going to find y. Y equals mx plus b. You're going to plug back in your y, -3. You're going to plug in your 2 for x. And your m is -3 over 2. So -3 equals -3 over 2 times 2 plus b. -3 equals -3 plus b. And b equals 0. That's a 0. All right? Third step, plug your m and b into the equation. -3/2 x plus 0, y equals -3/2 x. This is what happens when they don't give me answers. I figure out all my mistakes as I'm explaining it to you. All right, so -3/2 x plus, why couldn't that just be a positive 4? 0, so just -3/2 x. All right, 19. See, I'm making all my mistakes down. I'm going to fix them. In a half hour I finish it. Point Q is the image, 5, -3 after the translation of down 2 units and right 4 units. What are the coordinates of Q prime? This is an easy one. A is your vertical shift, up and down. Okay. A is your horizontal shift, left and right. B is your vertical shift, up and down. You messed up that. All right. So X is your left to right. Y is your up and down. So this number is how much you change left to right. This number is how much you change up and down. So when you go down 2, oh great, down 2 means your -3 goes down 2. All right, so it's going to be 5, shifting to the right 4. So that's 5 plus 4, comma, -3 down 2 is -3 minus 2. All right, so your final answer should be 9, -5. 5 plus 4 is 9, -3 minus 2 is -5. So as I said before, your answer should be 9, -5. All right? I'm not even going to put my wrong answer up there. All right, what is the equation for a line perpendicular to the line represented by the equation? Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. That passes through 4, -7. So, what he has to find? An equation for a perpendicular line. What's the relationships between slopes of perpendicular lines? They are opposite reciprocals. So what that means is, if you have a regular slope, all right, your new slope is going to be negative 1 divided by that original slope. So step 1 is to find the perpendicular slope. Slope of this equation is the number that is next to the x, if y is by itself. So your original slope is 1/3. When I want to find the perpendicular slope, it's negative 1 over 1/3. Fraction over a fraction is negative 1 times 3 over 1, or negative 3. Good, I got that one right. Find the y-intercept. Way to find the y-intercept is the same way before. Y equals mx plus b. We're going to take our point, 4, negative 7. 4 goes in here, so negative 7 equals negative 3 times 4. Negative 7 equals negative 12 plus b. Add 12 to both sides, and b should be 5. Yes. Questioning everything now. Plug it back into the original equation. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. Negative 3x plus 5 is right. All right, I needed that one. Feel better now. All right, turn on. At a lake, 210 fish are caught, tagged, and released. Of that number, 38 were bass. If there are approximately 2,500 fish in the lake, estimate how many are bass. Estimate how you estimated the number of bass. Well, let's look. You're going to set up a proportion. The way you set up your proportion is you're going to have tagged fish over total fish. All right? Now, I would put the bass over the total. The bass over the total. Okay? And you see total here, but here's like the absolute, like all the fish together, and this is just the ones you tagged. So, let's go break this down. All right, first thing, 210 fish are caught, tagged, and released. So, how many are totally fish are tagged? 210. 38 were bass, so 38 of the tagged fish were bass. So that gives us our first part of our proportion. If there are approximately 2,500 fish in the lake, how many are bass is your x. So that's pretty easy. Next step should be to cross multiply. All right, well, you cross multiply, 210 times x equals 38 times 2,500. Solve for x, 210x equals 95,000. 95,000 divided by 210 is about 452.4. Can't have 0.4 of a fish, right? So we're just going to say about 452 fish. Okay. Every once in a while, it pays to have an easy problem. Number 22, 10 granola bars and 12 bottles of water cost $23. 5 granola bars and 4 bottles of water cost $10. How much do 1 granola bar and 1 bottle of water cost? I remember taking my graduate exams and questions like this being on there. So you're going to have to write a system of equations and then use linear combinations to solve that system, and then use simple algebra to solve that. So let's start. Granola bars will be G, water bottles will be W, right? So you got 10G plus 12W equals 23. If you use like B for bottles, that's fine. There's too many B's. Equals 23. 5G plus 4W equals 10. Now, when we do linear combinations, we need to eliminate either the G's or the W's. I can multiply this by -2 or by -3 and get rid of one of the two. I'm going to go just with the -2. Okay? Smaller number. 10G plus 12W equals 23 stays. -10G minus 8W minus 20. Cancels out. 12 minus 8 is 4W equals 3. W equals 3/4 or 0.75, 75 cents. Take your W. We're going to plug it back into that equation right there, original equation, to get what G equals. 10G plus 12 times our W, which is 0.75, is 23. 10G plus 9 equals 23. 23 minus 9 is 14. 10G equals 14. G equals 1.4, or $1.40. How much does 1 granola bar, 1 bottle of water cost? G plus W equals something. $1.40 plus 75 cents is $2.15. All right. Got it? See? 23. What do we got? Almost there. Almost 2/3 done. Calculate the rate of change for the given line. Slope. Pick 2 points. Right? Choose 2 points. plug them into the equation. That's it. So the 2 points I'm going to pick, you may pick 2 different points. You don't have to pick the ones. And the equation here is rise over run, delta y of delta x, or y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. I'm just going to pick point here, -2 over 4 up. And I think I'm going to pick this point right here, 0 over 1 up. If you pick 2, -2, or if you picked 4, like -5, I guess, right? You just, the key here is, wait a second, 2, -2, yeah. The key here is you want to pick points that cross whole numbers. So these are both the same. So now I'm going to just say these are my x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 minus y1, 1 minus 4, x2 minus x1, 0 minus -2. Make sure your x is the denominator, y is the numerator. -3 divided by 2. Negative is a positive. -3 halves. -1 half. You want to really write these as fractions like this. The negative you typically just drag out to the front. That means the graph's going down. If it's positive, you press. 24. Jack's eyes are. Ooh, this is a fun one. Trig. Back to my geometry. I told you, taught geometry for 15 years. One of my favorite things to teach. First year I'm not teaching it is this year. Jack's eyes are 5 feet above the ground. He's standing 400 feet from the base of a building. Their angles of elevation of the line to the side of the top of the building is 67 degrees. How tall is the building? Draw a picture. Doesn't have to be to scale. Here we go, drew Jack. He's waving to you. Hi guys. Here's my building. All right. Now let's go fill in some stuff. His eyes are 5 feet above the ground. Standing 400 feet from the building. Angle of elevation from his line of sight, which is this, to the top of the building is 67 degrees. All right? How tall is the building? Now, we don't know this, but we have a triangle here, so we need to find here. Once we find out what this is, we can add Jack's eye height, and that can give us our total height. So what do we have to find? The height of the building. What kind of trig ratio can we use? You guys remember trig? SOHCAHTOA. Sine, opposite of our hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Here's our angle. Everything goes from here. Opposite, hypotenuse, across the right angle, and adjacent, between the angle and the right angle. Opposite, opposite of the angle. Now, don't care about the height or the hypotenuse because we're not given it, but we are given opposite and adjacent, so that is, we're going to use tangent. So we're going to use tangent is opposite over adjacent. Why? This is our rationale right here. Tangent 67 equals x over 400. Now to solve for x, you multiply both sides by 400, and 400 times tan 67 equals x. Make sure your calculator is in radian. 661 feet equals, that's it, 661 feet. But that's not how tall the building is. That's how tall it is above Jack's eyes. Jack's eyes are 5 feet high. 661 times his eyes, or plus his eyes, is, sorry, I didn't do this problem. I didn't make it up, 666 feet. No, a lot of you guys don't like that number. Not a big fan either, but blame previous teachers who made this packet. All right, 25. Whew, I've got a lot of problems right in a row. Did I just jinx myself? Graph 3x minus y equals 6 using the x-intercept and y-intercept. What are the x and y-intercepts, and how do you find these intercepts? Now, in order to find the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0. So you got 3x minus 0 equals 6. 3x equals 6. X equals 2. So it's 2, 0. The y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. How do we know this? We just did this before. So you got 3 times 0 minus y equals 6. 0 minus y equals 6. All right. Negative y equals 6. Y equals negative 6. So 0, negative 6. Then we go plot my points. You're going to plot the x and y intercepts, and then you're going to connect them with a line. Ready? 2, 0. 0, negative 6. Connect them with a line. And there's my answer. Got it? That ain't too bad, right? It's called intercept graphing. I think this was called. All right, ready? Breathe. 26. I think there's like 11 problems left. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation that passes through the point 2, 7 and is parallel to the line 3x plus 4y equals 8. We need to know slope-intercept formula. We need to know the slope, and we need to know the y-intercept. What do we know about slopes of parallel lines? They are, we said it before, equal. M1 equals M2. What is the slope-intercept form? Well, I kind of gave that to you already. It's y equals mx plus b. How can we find the equation of parallel line of, how do you explain how you find the equation of parallel line of the parallel line in this problem? All right, so how do we do it? Same as before, we're going to find the slope. What's the slope? We're going to use this to find the slope. 3x plus 4y equals 0. So if we get y by itself, subtract 3x from both sides. 4y equals negative 3x plus 8. Divide both sides by 4. You get y equals negative 3x divided by 4 is negative 3 over 4x. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we only care about the slope here, and the slope is the number that's next to the x. So the slope of our equation, this equation right here, is negative 3/4. Therefore, the equation of our new line, which is parallel, has the same slope, so it's also negative 3/4. Step 2, we're going to find the y-intercept, find b. We're going to take our equation, we're going to plug in x and y, which is 2 and 7. We're going to plug in our slope, which is negative 3/4. 7 equals negative 3/4 times 2 plus b. Negative 6 over 4 reduces to negative 3/2. 7 equals negative 3/2 plus b. 7 plus 3/2 is 8.5 or 17 over 2. All right? I told you I like it better this way. Me personally. Both are correct. I like it this way. Plug it back in the original equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 17 over 2. Boom! Got it. Don't you enjoy math when you get that right? You all got that. All right. If point B has coordinates, negative 8, 1, what are the coordinates of the point when it's reflected across the y-axis? This is a quick one. Plot point negative 8, 1. Negative 8 over, 1 up. Reflected across the y. Y is your vertical axis. So it is going to be, instead of negative 8, 1, it's going to be 8, 1. And there you go. Is there a rule to find reflection points? Of course, there's rules for everything. It is xy equals negative xy. It doesn't mean the point is negative here. It just means it's the opposite sign. So whatever x is, if it's positive, you make it negative. If it's negative, you make it positive. And the y remains the same. X actually value has to be the same distance from the y-axis on the opposite side, and the y value remains the same. So what that means is if I have my y-axis, if I go 8 units to the left, this one I'm just going 8 units to the right. All right, simple reflection. Once again, more geometry. All right, 28. Explain the differences and similarities between the graphs of the following functions. F of x equals x squared and g of x equals 2 to the x. Graph the two functions in the grid below. You may use Desmos. So Desmos will help you out. I'm just going to explain this to you. I did it on PowerPoint. I'm going to get out of the picture here. You've seen enough of me. So I'm in the way. So I'm going to graph this point right here. F of x equals, you know what, I'm going to graph x squared. When x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, 1 squared is 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 squared is 9. Put my little figure there. I got it forever. All right? This one, 2 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 2 to the first power is itself 1, 2. 2 squared is 4. Ooh, there's the same. 2 to the third power, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. All right? Now, say I go negatives here. 2 to the negative 1. When you raise something to a negative power, it's 1 over that to the positive power. So 1 over 2 is 1/2. 2 to the negative 2 is 1 over 2 squared, or 1 over 4, so about 0.25. 2 to the third power is 2 to the negative 3 is 1 over 2 to the third, or 1 over 8. 1/8, or about 0.12. Okay? So this graph right here is getting closer and closer to 0. It never gets to 0. So there's like a horizontal asymptote of 0. So let's look at right here. F of x equals x squared is a parabola. It's also symmetrical about the y-axis. Whatever you do to the left, you do to the right. Now, both functions, you never have a y value that's negative. All right? G of x is 2 to the x is an example of an exponential equation. So that means when your x value rises by, say, 1, your y value rises by a big chunk. And then it rises by bigger chunks each time. It also does not have a y-intercept, okay, because it never crosses the y-axis. It actually has a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. There you go. If you thought of any other ideas, tell me. All right, what is the distance between the points A equals 312 and B equals 615? Round to the different nearest set. So this is distance formula. Another geometry. All right, so distance is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Just so you guys get a little idea, distance formula pretty much comes from the Pythagorean theorem. You're taking the horizontal distance, squaring it, vertical distance, squaring it, and taking the square root of both of those to get your distance of your hypotenuse. The teacher should have taught you that. So let's look. X2 minus x1, 6 minus 3, squared, 15 minus 12, squared. Doesn't matter which set you pick as 1s and 2s. 3 squared plus 3 squared. 3 squared is 9 plus 9. These numbers will never be negative. Even if these numbers inside are negative, once you square them, these become positive. 9 plus 9 is 18. Square root of 18 is about 4.24 or 4.2 because it has to round to the nearest 10th. Boom! And that's it. Problem number 30. Triangle XYZ. Rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. So clockwise is like a clock. Counterclockwise is not like a clock. So what that means is if you're in this coordinate grid right here, these 2 points should end up here. This one's down here. It should end up over here. All right. 90 degrees moves it about 1/4 of the way around. So first thing, how do you find it? Well, the mathematical way is xy equals negative yx. So you take your x and y coordinates, you flip them. Your x coordinate becomes your y becomes your x. Now, whatever your y is, you switch the sign on as well, so that goes to the front. All right. So the opposite value of y becomes your x, and your x value becomes your y. What do you mean? Well, let's look. This point is 1, negative 1. So negative y, negative 1 is 1, and then 1. I don't like when it's the same number. So let's look at it. Y, 2, 3. So we're going to flip these. 3 is going to become negative. So this will become negative 3, 2. 5, 2. All right. Negative 2, 5. 1, 1. Up. Let's see. Check. Negative 3, 2. Negative 2, 5. Woo! There you go. Answer is that. You want to plot these to check them out? 1, 1. Negative 3, 2. Negative 2, 5. There's my triangle. Notice one coordinate, 1, and 1. I took the whole figure, boop, and moved it. And that's rotated about the origin. 31. Boat is sailing at a speed of, I like this one, 35 miles an hour, set to head due west. Oh, I didn't put my graph on here. I got to put that down. All right, I forgot to put my compass on. North, east, south, west. All right, so my boat is headed west. You guys know what that is? That's Pua, Moana. So Moana is going 35 miles an hour. She's going to the heart of Fiji. All right, I have little kids, so great movie. All right, the wind is blowing her south. So she's going west. Wind is blowing south. All right, so now it's headed south. What is the approximate resulting speed of the boat? So the boat's actually going southwest, okay, based on the wind and the speed that she's going. What can we use to solve this? Here's your hint. Boom. That's a right angle. Pythagorean theorem. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. A squared, B squared, C squared. 35 squared, 15 squared equals x squared. 1225 plus 225 equals x squared. Add them together. 1450 is x squared, and x equals 38.1. Approximate speed of the boat is 38 miles an hour. All right. Breathe, 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 and boom. How does the graph of 2x plus 3 differ from 2 to the x? Now, we did do this one before, 2 to the x, right? That's the parent graph, because you're not doing anything to this x power. So when we did it, boom, 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 I just explained this to you a slide and a half ago. So you just plug in 1, 2, 3, you know. Now, if I do x plus 3, watch how this works. Now, if I plug in 0 here, 2 to the 0 plus 3 is 2 to the third power. Wait, sorry, if I plug in negative 3, 2 to the negative 3 plus 3. So that's 2 to the 0. That's 1. If I plug in negative 2, negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 2 to the first power is 2. If I plug in negative 1 here, 2 squared is 4. If I plug in 0 here, 2 to the third power is 9. And then if I plug in these, I'm just shifting. Do you see all these shifts? They're all the same. What's my shift? It is a horizontal shift, left and right, 3 units to the left. So all these 3 units to the left, 3 to the left, 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 left. All right, so discuss the features. F of x, 2 to x is an exponential equation. It does not have a y-intercept, and the y value is never negative. So this is true for both of them. The only difference between these two is 2x plus 3 to the x plus 3 is, like I said, a horizontal shift of 3 units to the left of the parent function, which is f of x equals 2 to the x. All right? So I should say both. All right, 33. This one was just annoying to make. I remember doing this one. All right, so the diagram shows 2 squares constructed on the sides of a rectangle. What is the area of square C? This is like a puzzle problem. All right. All right. So first thing, oh, my thing's going. Square. How do you find? What do you need to know to find the area of square C? You need to know the area of a square formula, and you need to know the side lengths of C. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the length of rectangle B from square A. Now, square A has an area of 16. So S squared, side squared is 16, square root of 16 is 4 feet. So all the sides of square A are 4 feet. All right? Now, rectangle, 4 feet by, we don't know how many feet here. Okay, the whole area is 12. So the second step is to use that length in the area of the rectangle to find the width. So rectangle B, area is 12 feet, equals 4, that we got from here, times this, which we don't know. 12 divided by 4 is the width is 3, or 3 feet. Step 3, this is a square. Area of a square, use that to compute its area. 3 squared, 3 times 3. 3 squared is 9, so 9 square feet. Good? Feel confident now. Now I'm on a roll. 5. Ooh, some more trig. Explain how you can write trigonometric ratios using right triangles. There you go. Here's straight from my geometry class. You remember this maybe. I think I had it. SOHCAHTOA. You have a triangle. The angle, opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent of this angle, opposite over adjacent. All right, so let's look. Trigonometric ratio, sine A. Sine is, well, let's look. This is the hypotenuse of A. This right here is opposite, and this right here is adjacent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's 9 over 3 radical 13. 9 divided by 3 is 3 over radical 13. All right. If you want to reduce this, you could also put this as 3 square root of 13 divided by 13. That's also okay. Cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. 6 over 3 square root of 13. 3 goes into both of them, you get 2 over radical 13. And like I said before, you can make this 2 radical 13 over 13 as well if you like. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, 9 over 6. 9 over 6 reduces to 3/2. All right, that's it. That wasn't too bad, was it? They just asked you to find the ratios. They didn't actually find it. All right, 2 more problems. Angle of elevation. Oh, this one got me a little bit. To the sun is 24 degrees. What is the length of the shadow cast by a person 1.82 meters tall? Draw a picture and show the information with this problem. So here's your little guy. He's taking a little walk. There's the shadow. There's the sun. All right, so have my little triangle here. Now this is how I figure you did this. About 99% sure. What is the length of the shadow cast by him? He is 1.8 meters tall. Angle of elevation right there is 24 degrees. He's 1.82 meters. So I want to know the shadow line. So what I am going to do is do what? How do I find the shadow line? Well, this is a big triangle, right? I don't care about the height of the sun and the other stuff. I just care about this little triangle right here. I care about my 24, my shadow length, which is x, and the height of the boy, which is, or man, which is 1.82. All right? So I'm just going to use the triangle inside the triangle. Now, what trig function do I use? This is hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Opposite adjacent is tangent. Here we go. Tangent 24 equals 1.82 over x. All right? X equals 1.82 divided by tan 24. 1.82 divided by tan 24 is 4.09, or about 4.09 meters. I went 3 sig things. That's good. That's what we're going to be doing. You'll find out after chapter 1. All right. That's how big a shadow is. Big shadow. Little shadow. 36. Solve the system below by graphing. Now, you can do this by linear combinations, but they ask you to do it by graphing. So, that means when the 2 lines intersect, that's how you solve the system. What method are we going to use? We're going to use finding the x and y intercepts. All right, then we're going to draw graphs. Is it enough to only write the x coordinates, or do you need both coordinates? Obviously, you need both the x and the y coordinates. It's not going to help if you just have one. So, first one, we're going to solve for the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0, negative y equals 3, y equals negative 3. Now we're going to solve for the x coordinate. So, y equals negative 3, I put my point. Solve the x-intercept, you set y equals 0, 2x minus 0 equals 0, 2x minus 0 equals 3. 3 divided by 2 is 3/2. So x is 3/2. Boom, there's my first line. Second line, set x equal to 0 to solve for the y-intercept, y equals negative 6. All right, find the x-intercept, set y equal to 0, x equals negative 6. All right, how do I solve it? Where do they meet? They meet right here, negative 1, negative 5. That's your answer. And guess what? That's the summer packet. So, it was only about 36 questions, and as you can see, everyone makes mistakes. I'm counting about 15 little simple mistakes I made throughout the packet. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take my mistakes that I made, I'm going to change them on the PowerPoint I just made, and put that PDF up on the website. All right, so all the correct answers will definitely be on the PDF. I tried to explain them the best I can here. I'd have to make another 2-hour video if I didn't do that. And I've got so many videos to make, just not going to have enough time. So, that is your summer packet. What we're going to do is somewhat similar to that, but not the same. Everything will be explained to you as we go on, and I look forward to teaching you guys this year. Seeing your answers. Just make sure what you do is you take your answers from your summer packet. They're all taken pictures of and uploaded to Canvas, and then you get credit. All right, so till I see you and actually start teaching you, have a good day.